Thank you so much for joining me in my second video on this channel. Today, as you probably read in the title, we are talking about axolotls. My favorite joke, and I might try to throw it into this video a couple times, is I axolotl questions about axolotls. And I know it's lame, but I am so glad that you're here. Whether it's your first video, which you haven't missed much, I've made one other video. Go ahead and click on it after you're done watching this one. Or if you are watching the second video in time with how I'm making them, thank you. So, we have a name. When I was recording my last video, we didn't have a name for this channel yet, and now, as you all know, it is Get Ready and Get Weird, which is perfect because we are getting ready. Hello, hi. We're putting makeup on my face. But we're also getting weird and staying weird. I think that being weird is cool. It's what keeps us ourselves and keeps us interesting and keeps us curious. And I personally prefer weird people. I don't know about you, but if you're watching my video and you don't prefer weird people, I do need to shout out my friend who actually came up with this name. His name is Kai S, and he lives in Kansas. His aunt and I are very close, Dr. Aunt Marcy, and he thought of this name. I highly appreciate it, and I also appreciate having him and his siblings and his aunt in my life to help me stay weird and to be weird themselves. I hope you enjoy this conversation about axolotls. We are talking about axolotls today, and I axolotl questions about axolotls, if you know what I mean. Okay, that was a good one, right? All right. Anyway, let's get started. So axolotls are my #1 favorite kind of salamander. There are a ton of awesome facts about them. Today I'm gonna run you through what they look like, first and foremost, because they are little alien critters. Then we're gonna talk about their habitat, their diet, as well as some other fun facts and not so, maybe sad facts about these amazing animals. So let's start with how they look, because I'm telling you, they look like little Pokemon, and if you disagree, I think you're lying, or you've never seen a Pokemon. The interesting things about how they look include their gills, which look like little feathery, like antlers almost coming out the back of their head, hence my little buns today. Repping for the axolotls out here with my space buns. I didn't know in my non-biologist brain that gills could be on the outside of their heads. You know, I always think of gills as the little slits in the side of fish. But come to find out upon further research, these feathery little branches coming out of their heads are their actual gills. So they have all those filaments on those branches. They kind of float in the water in order to collect more O2, oxygen, from the water. So it's a pretty efficient little breathing system there. Now, a fact about these that does impact the way that axolotls look is that they have something called neoteny. Most all other animals and organisms, really, even bugs, go through changes as they go from baby, including us. If you think about other amphibians, let's keep it simple. Frogs and toads go from tadpoles to frogs. They look completely different. They go from living exclusively in water, swimming around, to being able to hop around on land. And neoteny is when a organism doesn't do that. And axolotls have neoteny. So they do not ever go from tadpole to salamander. They keep some of those tadpole-like traits. And some of those traits include a large fin down their back, which I'll show a picture, but you can see it on them. Salamanders kind of grow out of that, but most salamanders do. They're closely related to tiger salamanders, and tiger salamanders grow out of that back fin, but axolotls don't. Their gills, they keep their gills, whereas some salamanders could, you know, be on the land, and axolotls cannot. They have to stay in the water. There's very few exceptions to that rule, but we're going to talk about generally. Let's talk about what color these beautiful critters are. In the wild, they're normally like a mottled brown and black, mottled meaning kind of speckled, but there are also pink ones, which mostly exist in captivity. And I've also seen a few golden colored ones, but the majority of the axolotls in the wild will be brown, black, and adorable, if you ask me. Something else I really like about the way that these salamanders look is that they have, just as most salamanders do, the most precious little smile. Look at me getting close to the camera with my dusty face talking about precious little smiles. Okay, let's back it back up over here. Let's move on to talk about their habitat. They are found naturally in one lake area in Mexico, near Mexico City, called Xochimilco. They live permanently in the water due to the neoteny. Besides that, they live in captivity in many places. So for this look, taking a break from talking about the axolotls for just a second, I wanted to do maybe some pink. I wore a pink shirt. I did my little buns to kind of look like their gills. And I think I was gonna do some pink on the eyes, as well as maybe a winged eyeliner. We'll see how that goes. All right, so we know now that they live in Mexico, near Mexico City, and that's the only place that they're naturally found. Unfortunately, the population of axolotls in the wild is decreasing rapidly due to contamination and draining of the lake is causing their natural habitat to become less livable for them, which is honestly awful sounding. I would hate that if that happened to me. So I personally don't think it should happen to them, but what do I know? I am a mere mortal. All right, so let's do a pink look to rep for these cuties. So we know where they live. We know what they look like. We know how freaking cute they are. Let's talk about their diet. Similar to other salamanders, these cuties will eat worms, insect larvae. They are carnivores, and honestly, they will kind of taste anything that floats by them, you know. So they also eat mollusks, maybe some small fish, and in captivity, I've seen lots of people feeding them wiggly worms, so I think it's safe to say they are worm eaters. Sorry, my mirror is below the camera, so adding some adding some eyeshadow here. So they're natural predators, talking about diet. Whose diet are they a part of, I guess is what we're talking about here. Their natural predators are some large fish that have recently come into their natural habitat, as well as birds like herons will come in and swoop down and eat them. Also, I forgot to mention when talking about how big these salamanders can get, they can get up to like 1 foot long, but more often they are about 6 inches long. And I understand that I'm not a axolotl owner. I don't think I've ever even met one in person. But can you imagine a salamander that's 1 whole foot long? A foot. A whole foot long. That's pretty long salamander, I'm just saying. I want to add more pink, but I don't think I have a lot of pink. Looks like I need to go shopping. Okay, that kind of pink ended up maybe a little more maroon than pink. All right, so let's talk about a not so fun fact. Something that kind of makes me sad about these animals is that, as I mentioned, their natural habitat has been really impacted by the population of Mexico City. So, you know, living near a large human population, as well as just the fact that they live in only one specific place. They're kind of almost a unicorn, like almost mythical, because they only live in one place. So they're difficult to find in the wild, and because of the contamination and draining some of their natural habitats, their natural lakes where they would live, they are critically endangered. And that's sad to hear, just because we love, you know, the biodiversity and the critters who we share this planet with. And it makes me sad, especially when you can almost trace it back to us as humans. We are able to keep them in captivity, and so we are able to study them that way. It's sad, in my opinion, that they're critically endangered in the wild. So that's a not so fun fact. I didn't want to end with that one, which is why I put it there before the fun facts. Now, a fun fact about these cool critters is that they can, okay, here, I'm gonna do some eyeliner, one sec. It's a light eyeliner, but that is nowhere near as fabulous as an axolotl's gill, but it'll do for a mere human. Eyeliner's on. These are my little teeny gills. I wouldn't get very much O2 in through these guys, but you know what? Axolotls have a lot of filaments on theirs to get a ton of oxygen. Fun fact. What was I saying? A fun fact. It was supposed to be a fun fact after we talked about them being critically endangered. Okay, something cool. Axolotls can regenerate body parts if they've been injured. I love this because scientists are able to study these little buddies, and they are able to kind of figure out, you know, how are they able to regenerate parts of their body, including pieces of their hearts, with little to no scar tissue. That is like a mutant, like a video game. Let me get you some health back. Let's rejuvenate my teammate over here. You know, just, that is some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff right there. That's all I got to say about that. It's amazing that these little animals are able to do this. That it's not just, you know, there's other reptiles that we know of that can regenerate, you know, if they lose their tail, they're able to grow it back. But the very interesting thing about axolotls is that they're able to do that with little to no scar tissue. And that's the biggest difference. Okay, so we've talked about how interesting it is that they're able to regenerate parts of their body, like I said, including their heart. In my opinion, we need to be studying that before they go completely extinct. Another interesting fact, also, side note, not even talking about axolotls. How many times in one of these videos, we're gonna have to count, like keep a tracker up here, how many times I can say another interesting, or that's really interesting to me, or something that's interesting to me. We're gonna need to keep track of those. But anyway, and another thing that is interesting to me, I mean, I'm not lying. There are cases, we talked about how they have neoteny, so they don't, you know, leave the water and become a full land walking salamander. But there are times with, when faced with a lot of stress, or like labs, scientists have injected them with, I think, some kind of hormone, and it might be the stress hormone, cortisol or something along those lines for a amphibian. They can actually grow into a full salamander. I find that intriguing. I just think it's interesting the role that stress plays in maturity, and that kind of proves it. I mean, it does for all of it, the hormones and all of that, we know that, but it's interesting, again, there's my word, interesting, that when faced with stress, it is possible that an axolotl will become an adult axolotl and not maintain its juvenile traits, its neoteny, you might call it. You should call it, because that's what it is. Hold up, we're getting close to the end here, people. Just stay with me. Woo, okay. We're getting there, people. Another fact that I wanted to share with you was the actual origins of the word axolotl. It comes from an ancient language that was spoken in what is now Mexico. And it combines the words for dog and water. And the people who spoke this language had a mythical creature in their culture, in their mythology, that was a dog. The salamander was part of their mythology. And part of this story of this dog was that it went into and hid in this lake that you find axolotls in, and that is where it lives to this day. So we have talked about what axolotls look like. We've all come to the agreement that they're very cute. They're so strange looking that they're cute. We've talked about how they look, what their little feathery branches on the sides of their heads are. We have talked about where they live, the fact that where they live is becoming less livable for them, which isn't that cool. We've also talked about what they eat and what could eat them. We've talked about their size and how they can become 1 foot long. We've also talked about some cool facts. The fact that they can regenerate is body parts, in my opinion, is #1 cool fact about them. And I really do hope that scientists are able to study, even for people, even if we're not able, you know, I'm not sitting here with hope that we're going to be able to like regenerate arms or legs now. I'm just gonna keep it real. I don't know if that's gonna be a thing. We are not salamanders. But I do have hope in people who have heavy scarring that, you know, maybe we could not learn from, and like it's not gonna teach us, you know, well, when I grow my arm back, I do this, but we could learn from studying their genes, studying their DNA, studying their bodies and their makeup, like their genetic makeup. We might be able to learn how to help people with heavy scarring or that have suffered from bad accidents to maybe help heal and regenerate their skin. I feel like that, regenerating organs, I mean, they can regenerate parts of their heart. So as cool and cute and funny looking as they are, I feel like we might be able to learn something from these dudes. So I certainly hope that you enjoyed learning about these, and I will catch you in the outro. And that is that about axolotls. There's a ton more information out there about axolotls. So axolotl questions about axolotls. I do really want to say thank you so much to anyone who has watched these 2 videos that I've posted. It means a lot to me to have the support of my friends and family. I know that right now, at this current moment, as I'm filming this, we're sitting in a pandemic. Many of us are stuck at home. Many of us are looking for ways to be stimulated and to, you know, interact with the outside world. And this is a cool way that I've figured out I can interact with my friends and family. So I really appreciate y'all watching. Please share, subscribe, like. If there's a family out there with kiddos or parents or anyone who you think would enjoy these videos or would enjoy interacting with me about cool, weird, interesting facts, send them my way, please. If you have a favorite critter or a interesting organism, sciencey, weird thing that you'd like me to learn about and then talk about, please send it my way. Leave me a comment below. I love hearing what you're interested in. I already have a few people on my list of what I need to cover, so be patient, but we'll get to yours. And stay weird.